Good afternoon, YouTube. What's going on? It's Mesa back at it with some Destiny. Alright guys, got some more exclusive footage from Rise of Iron. Thanks to Activision, who flew me out to Bungie Studios last week to cover all this stuff. And this is kind of going to wrap it up. This is Archon's Forge, and that's where me and my fire team are heading for right now. When you spawn into the Plaguelands, you're going to break right and just keep following the path all the way right until you get to this building, and that's where you're going to kick it off. Now, this footage is a mixture of my footage and also Kuch's footage, okay? So link to his channel will be in the description, but I'm sure you're already quite familiar with him. So what is Archon's Forge? As you probably already know, it's a cross between the Court of Oryx and also the Prison of Elders. It's going to look very familiar once you get in there. Now you can see right when I got to this one, it was already kicked off. So the doors closed up, and actually there's a way to get in there, which we'll talk about in a second. So Archon's Forge, it looks like the Prison of Elders once you get in there. And what it really is the Fallen come in here to do battle with each other and to prove themselves, prove their worth, to become Devil Splicers, or whatever you want to call them. And we're actually going to bring them SIVA offerings ourselves to get in there, and they're none too happy with that, okay? It's a 5-minute round of just waves of enemies, stripped like a total horde mode, with a big boss fight at the end. Now, in a nutshell, there's 3 tiers to this thing, okay? You've got different SIVA offerings that you're going to bring to the top, the observatory deck, as you want to call it, where you're going to kick this thing off. Now, this one's called the Fused Shank Master, okay? That's going to be the lowest level one. I can't show you the tier 2 and tier 3, but the way it works is you're going to come to that observatory where I got locked out initially, and you're going to present them SIVA offerings. Now, you get those when you're out and about in the Plaguelands. So when you're just killing things and shooting things into Plaguelands, they're randomly just going to drop for you, okay? And then you're going to come here. Now, the Archon's Forge, I didn't see any of the loot, but at the end of each round, there is specific end game loot, okay? And each one of them has a certain light level, okay? I don't have handy what the light levels are, but if I find out what it was, I'll check my sources. But each one of them has a different light level, and obviously the loot will drop accordingly. Now, the SIVA offerings you're going to find out in the wild is going to be common, rare, and legendary. Now, Scott Taylor, in the Q&A that we did with him at the end of our trip, said he can only carry one at a time. Now, I'm assuming he doesn't mean just one type of offering. I'm assuming it means you can carry one common, one rare, one legendary. I hope, okay? We'll obviously come back and clarify that. Now also, besides just getting your offerings from out in the wild, they will drop inside the Archon's Forge just when you're killing things. So it is kind of like Court of Oryx in that you could just jump in if you see people doing it. But I'm not 100% sure how it's going to work because once they kick it off, those doors shut. But if you happen to be around Archon's Forge and you see some of the Guardians, stick by, because if one of them offers one of the offerings, that's redundant, right? If someone presents offerings, you could jump in and then get some of the loot from there. But I didn't get clarification on how the loot actually works. Like, you know, in a Court of Oryx, it's whoever puts in the rune is the one that gets the loot. I got a feeling it's probably the same way. Whoever puts in the offering gets that loot. But then again, not 100% sure. But you do have reason to join in with people because you can get some offerings from just playing Archon's Forge. You're going to drop. Now, when you kill the final boss, you're going to see a couple of battle axes drop, and they are a lot of fun. They do have a charge on them, so if you're not using it, you're going to lose it, okay? So you want to swing that thing at as many enemies as possible. So it makes a lot of fun. And I will say the tier 2 and tier 3 versions, they were very, very difficult. You're seeing just the initial one, the common one, and it seems fairly easy. But I think we were over leveled for it, okay? But the other ones, I say okay way too much. I'm sorry, that's my padding word. The other ones were really, really difficult. Now, you also have a number of bounties that you're going to get from Shiro 4. He's the new NPC at Felwinter Peak. I'm going to annotate on screen my tour of Felwinter Peak. You could see me grabbing those bounties from him, and actually I complete some of them throughout the day when we were just playing this, because we were playing it over and over and over. It was so much fun. Now, in checking my sources here, I've got the breakdown in terms of the tiers and the light levels. So, the common ones are called Fused, and that's going to be 320 light. That's why it looks so easy, because they're all 335 in these clips here. Then you've got Enhanced. That's going to be your rares. That's going to be 340 light. Then lastly, which is going to give you the best rewards, and is going to be a whopping 360 light, that's going to be called Perfected, and that's the legendary. So keep that in mind that you may pick up these things, but you got to check your light level before you step in there and present those offerings. Now, let's talk about Splicer Keys. Now, Splicer Keys are going to drop in Patrol when you're in the Plaguelands, just killing things, but also within Archon's Forge. Now, as I mentioned, if you die and you're not revived, you go back to the Observatory deck. If you have a Splicer Key, you can present it and get back into the fight. Also, I noticed when I was out and about just exploring in the Plaguelands, there was some doors that were sealed off by those laser lights or laser beams or whatever, and it had a terminal next to it. It prompted me to use a Splicer Key. I used it, and it opened up that door. So it looks like Splicer Keys are going to have a little bit more of a role than just letting you back in here, but also out in the wild in the Plaguelands. So if you see a Splicer Key, you pick it up, hold on to them. You may want to use them in Archon's Forge, or you may want to hold off and see if there's certain parts of the Plaguelands that you can't get into unless you have one of those keys. Now, when we were recording this is me, Mtashed, and Nkuch, and we were having no problem because it's obviously the 320 light level. However, this will support up to 9 people in there, and you probably want to go in there with 9 people or at least 6 people when doing the really hard versions when you're low light. I mean, obviously, once we start gaining all our light levels, then we're up to 360. Remember, it goes up to 385 and then 400 with the raid. You can have no problem going in there with 3 people. But for the early parts, when we're trying to go in there and get some loot, if you're going to do the 360 version, you can actually go in there with 9 people. So I probably would wander around Archon's Forge, and even if you don't have the offerings, if you see some other people there, hey, join up with them and see if you could do one of the harder ones. I know for me, Court of Oryx, and I was trying to get my artifacts, I always was just hanging around the Court of Oryx, waiting for people to show up and see who's got what, and then we jump in, get some loot. Now, in wrapping things up, guys, I loved it. Had so much fun. We were in here for about a good 40 minutes, okay? We were just non-stop playing this, and we were doing all of them. We were doing the 320, 340, and 360. Obviously, I can't show you the 340 and 360, but I think what made me like it so much was that I feel like the Court of Oryx was too short, and the Prison of Elders was too long. And this is just non-stop action. There's no real breaks in it. Once you kick it off, get ready for it, okay? And it, like I said, it gets really challenging when you're doing the higher light level one. So I'm all in, guys. I'm going to be hanging around Archon's Forge a lot. And as I mentioned in my Plaguelands video from last night, annotated on screen conveniently, man, I love it. It's all brand new content. It's not a reskin of the Cosmodrome. It's a huge war zone. There's just non-stop action. There's Hive. There's the Devil Splicers. It's very ominous just in terms of not only the music, but the aesthetics of the environment. You go from just snowy, blizzard, whiteout conditions to all of a sudden like really industrial, and that's where the Archon's Forge is located, where there's just lava seeping out of the sides of the buildings and everything, and that's it. And if you couldn't tell, Babel mode is engaged. So do me a favor, drop a like at this video only if you see fit. Make sure you subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Follow me on the Twitter at Mesa. Check out my stream, usually on YouTube, sometimes on Twitch. That's it. I am out of here like Vladimir.